Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome everybody to our fourth and last session on the topic of death. Do you mind coming a little closer? I am a person of style, what can I do? I just feel I can reach you all better and connect with you if you're close, you know. So we have a few devotees here who are here the first time on the topic. So we spent already 3 days discussing all different deeper points on this topic of death. Of course, we won't be able to repeat this all for you now. But simply, you know, we were looking at the power of the mind, that actually the mind is part of the subtle body and takes the soul to the next destination, and it has to be dissolved, the subtle body, material mind, intelligence, and this false ego, meaning false identifications, has to be completely dissolved and given up. And how death has that power of stripping all the externals of us. This is one thing that really fascinates me about death. It seems like this is giving us the glimpse into actual and eternal reality, because all these things which are usually so important to us, our bank balance, our big car, house, title, position, fame, followers, all these things, when at the moment of death, they have no significance. Not even right at the moment of death, but even when we are preparing, let's say we are diagnosed by cancer, and so we know now, you know, it's getting serious here, and all these things have no significance, there's no shelter in those things, and there's the wonderful verse, religion is the only wealth of those who are about to leave this world. That's the only thing that gives us shelter, which we are allowed to keep our relationship with Krishna. That's what religion means. Religion means reconnect. Religere from Latin means reconnect, so it doesn't mean anything else but our relationship with Krishna. Yeah, so we were discussing so many different things, and I was sharing examples, my father leaving, or this other devotees are leaving, Bhakti Tirtha Swami leaving. We were looking at all different things. Yesterday one topic was also that very often the main fear is pain. You know, that often we are not so much fearful of that actual transition of death, but just the suffering and the pain that comes along with it. And there we were discussing how pain is also nothing else but an impression on the mental platform, an experience on the level of the mind. Pain actually is not there on the level of the soul. It has nothing to do with us as the spirit soul. There is no pain on that level. And we only feel pain because we identify with the body, and the body is so dear to us because that gives us the possibility to enjoy and satisfy our desires for sense enjoyment. That's why we're so attached to the body, and that's where the pain comes. And we were saying, even in material sense, you know, when we are very focused and absorbed in something, it can bring us beyond the level of pain. I was telling how I used to, as a teenager, I used to play handball, and I was the goalkeeper, and I was breaking fingers in the matches, and once my finger was standing off like this, and I I didn't even notice it. I was finishing the whole match with this broken finger. Didn't notice. I realized, oh, something is not quite right there. But I didn't even bother looking. I had gloves on and it didn't matter. So if your absorption, your focus is strong, you don't feel pain. And other examples are war times, you know, under extreme circumstances when people have to struggle for survival, or they help a companion who is about to die or something, then they don't feel their own injuries. They're completely above that level of pain. Yeah. So pain is very subjective thing, and through absorption in Krishna, it can get us beyond the level of pain, and actually that's what it means to be on the transcendental platform, actually. So not such a cheap thing to actually be transcendental. It means really we are beyond the dualities of life. Pain, pleasure, hunger, thirst, happiness, distress. This is all modes of nature, you know. So, and we were discussing the wonderful example of Bhakti Tirtha Swami's departure, how Rana Swami tells this in a 5-hour Sunday feast lecture. His last weeks and days with Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and how they were deeply absorbed in reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Radha Swami and Bhakti Tirtha Swami at some stage called out, "It can't get any better than this." And they actually felt, we are entering Chaitanya Charitamrita here. We are not just reading it, but we are entering it. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami was saying, for nothing in this world I would want to exchange my present position. Even if you give me $1 million, it can't get better than this. So that's the power of absorption in remembering Krishna. You know, that it really transports us on a different platform, different level. And I was sharing some own experiences with my whole cancer story 5 years ago. I had cancer and chemotherapy and quite a big surgery and so on, and it gave me a lot of realizations in that regard. And I also experienced there's a special sweetness there. When death is a little closer and you actually surrendering and putting yourself in Krishna's hands, and you're giving up all your plans and you're simply ready to accept Krishna's plan, and Krishna reveals himself more tangibly, and there is a special sweetness there which is not so easily understood by outsiders. They think, how can it be sweet to take chemotherapy and all that? But there is. So yeah, so these were like the discussions over the last few days and yesterday. So at the end of yesterday, we were bringing up this importance of personal relationship to Krishna. That unless we actually have really managed to establish a more tangible personal relationship with Krishna, it will not be so easy at that moment to really put ourselves in Krishna's hands and give up our plans and actually desire to want to go to the spiritual world and be with Krishna. That is only really, you know, let's say the more the relationship is established, the more easier it will be, the more natural it will be. And I was telling the story of this devotee in Ukraine who was leaving, and devotees were asking her, so you want to go back to Krishna? And she said, no. And everybody was very surprised, saying, why is this? You don't want to go? And she said, well, I don't know Krishna. I don't have a relationship with Krishna. And she was not just saying that out of humility or something, But that was her conclusion, and because she felt there is no relationship there, and I actually have no connection there, that's why I don't want to go. And we were saying, even in a material sense, you know, if we imagine, you know, and I have done this in the past, to many of you I have suggested, come to the Ukrainian festival, come to the Russian festival. But usually the immediate feeling is, well, I don't know anybody there. You know, will I be taken care of? Maybe I will be all lost and lonely there, you know. And very often if you just know one person there, and you feel, yes, I have a friend there, then you feel, yes, I want to go there. I want to be with that friend, and I'm sure I will meet so many other friends, you know, like that. But if we don't have any relationships, even in this world, we are not so inclined to go there. So Krishna consciousness is all about personalism, the absolute personalism. And absolute personalism is really established on the relationship with Krishna. And if that's established, then we see every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna, and then we can be truly personal with every living entity, and then we feel love and compassion to every living entity. But unless our personalism is not based on our relationship with Krishna, our so-called personalism will still be under the dualities. I like this person, I don't like that person. He's my friend, she's not my friend. And today I like her and tomorrow I don't like her. You know, so personalism, if it's not based on a tangible relationship with Krishna, it will be under the dualities. And it's not the absolute personalism, the true personalism, you know. So in any case, this personal relationship seems to be one of the key elements in preparing for death. And as the relationship is more and more factual there and tangible there, and actually becomes more part of reality for us, then it will be very natural. Well, Krishna is there, yes, let's go. He's been waiting for so many lifetimes. I've been meditating on wanting to go and join him for so many years. It will be a very natural thing. But if there is no relationship there, then, you know, then our immediate relationships and family relationships around us, they will be our main relationships, and then we will hang on to those and we will not want to leave, and it will be all more unpleasant being forced to, you know, be kicked out of the body or something, you know. So, and we were discussing this also at length in our Holy Name retreat a couple of months ago, that to develop a personal relationship with Krishna requires conscious effort. It doesn't happen automatically. No relationship happens automatically. Even being here in Almik, just being here doesn't mean we have personal relationships with other devotees, or any yatra, doesn't have to be Almik, you know, any yatra. Just being there doesn't mean there's a personal relationship there. We have to make a conscious effort. We have to serve. We have to accept austerities for each other. We have to sacrifice our own joy and happiness for the sake of satisfaction of others. That's what it means to develop a loving relationship. So that doesn't just come automatically just by wearing beads and dhoti or sari and doing the external, going through the external motions of being a devotee, but it requires an effort. So, and we were saying yesterday, the very first step in developing a relationship is always hearing about a person and getting knowledge about a person. And we have that famous example Prabhupada tells, it's more kind of a little joking analogy, where Prabhupada says, a husband says, I love my wife, and then you ask him, well, what's her name? I don't know. What does she look like? I don't know. What does she like to eat? I don't know. Where does she live? I don't know. Well, you sure you love her? What kind of a relationship do you have? So obviously hearing is the first thing to build a connection. And even in material sense we also have this. And I was giving the example with traveling, like we are sitting here in Sweden and let's say a very ignorant person doesn't even know that there's other countries in the world where life is different than in Sweden, and where there's a different climate and vegetation and landscape and all that. So then, we have all the tourist offices, they advertise here, come to Norway, come to Australia, come to India. That's what it looks like, descriptions, what can we do there, this, that. And then by hearing and meditating, we develop an attachment to the idea. And yes, okay, I want to go there, I want to go to India, I want to go to Mayapur. I heard so much about it. So it develops an appetite, I want to go there. And same thing. The Bhagavatam is like the advertisement pamphlet of the spiritual world. And the more we hear and cultivate a desire to go there, then we will be more determined. Yes, I do want to go there. So hearing is the first step in order to make this connection with Krishna and develop a desire of actually going there. And then the hearing has to lead to chanting with that desire of actually turning towards a person, the personality of Godhead, and developing a relationship with Him. And if our chanting is done without that awareness of a person being there and not even desiring to actually connect and ultimately serve that person, then it is simply a reflection of the chanting. It's like the empty medicine capsule. Yeah, so the chanting is really, for the living entity in the material world, it's the main way to directly connect with Krishna, because the holy name and Krishna is non-different. And if we associate with the holy name in that mood of understanding it is no different, then we get so many amazing benefits. Just as if we directly associate with Him personally. That's the thing. So the chanting is the main way of connecting. And if we chant with the desire of wanting to connect with the personality and serve, then the spirit of service will awaken in the heart, no doubt. Because that's our natural propensity, to wanting to serve Krishna. So if we are actually chanting with that desire, please my Lord, I know I have ignored you for so many lifetimes, but now I want to put an end to this. I want to turn towards you. I want to build this relationship. I know you are there. This is one of my key sentences, how I pull my wandering mind back when I chant. Krishna, I know you are there. It's quite powerful. You try when the mind wanders. Of course got you here, but then also, Krishna, I know you're there. I want to turn towards you. Actually, in the Holy Name retreats, we are doing exercises, chanting like this. And usually when I ask the devotees, how did you go? Was it easy for you to chant like this, actually turning towards Krishna? Everybody answers, no, it's not easy. It is actually difficult. I've done quite a few retreats over the last couple of years. I've never had a single person who said, yes, actually it is not difficult. Not a single one. It just shows how easily we can leave Krishna completely out of the picture and just simply chant our 16 rounds, thinking about so many other things. Even if it is service, yes, I have to do this, that. But the person, wanting to connect with the person, we can very easily completely leave out of the picture. So no doubt, if we chant, like Prabhupada says, it is simply a cry, please Krishna, allow me to serve you. If we actually chant like this, then no doubt the spirit of service has to awaken. And I'm even going so far that I'm saying our so-called problem or phenomenon all over the world in ISKCON, that we are lacking pujaris. This is everywhere, not only in Arabic, everywhere where you go. This is a direct result of inattentive chanting. If we chant attentively on the level of the heart, there will be pujaris. Yes. It's simply a result of taking the empty medicine capsule. That's why we don't understand that Krishna is actually there. And that's why we don't want to serve. Krishna doesn't reveal himself. And that's why we think he's just a statue there, a decoration on the altar, and okay, there's a roster and somebody has to do the job. That's our vision of deity worship. And it's a direct result of inattentive chanting. That's the root. If we get on deeper levels of chanting, only that will fix the problem at the root. The devotees want to serve the deities. Yes? So yes, the chanting is the main way how we connect with a personality, but then also the service. And like Drew, who was saying yesterday, he's not here today, but yesterday he was saying, well, Krishna is everywhere, what's the problem going to this country or that country? And so that may be the result of 30 years doing Mangalati. He didn't seem to think it was so difficult to understand, yes, Krishna is there, why not go to him? Because for doing Mangalati for 30 years, there has to be a relationship there, I dare say. Yeah, so deity worship, that's why deity worship is one of the 5 angas. Next to chanting the Holy Name and next to hearing the Bhagavatam is the deity worship, because that makes the whole relationship more personal, more tangible. And that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that the process and the goal are the same. What we are doing now, we will be doing in this world to world. No difference. Here we are bathing Krishna, and there we are bathing Krishna. And once I had this nice realization. I was in Bangladesh, and I traveled with my father and his young boy, and we were at Narottam Das Thakur's place, and there's no bathroom there. If you want to take bath, you have the choice. There's either the pond, the pukur, or there's the pump in the yard. No bathroom. So, and we had a whole group of brahmacharis there, and this young boy, 10-year-old, a shooter, they were taking bath there at the pump. And it was, I watched the whole thing from far away, and it was such a beautiful scene. The sun was just coming up, it was in winter time, it was a little chilly. And all the brahmacharis took great pleasure in taking the lota, in pouring water over little Achyuta, and bathing him, and rubbing him down, you know. And when I saw that, I thought, that's what Abhishek is.
That is what
Abhishek is, actually, you know. We are bathing the Lord, and it gives great pleasure to the Lord's associates to bathe him and pour water over him and wash him and put a bit of soap on his head and, you know, and just pouring the water over him. It was amazing to see. They all grabbed the load, oh, let me, and they all poured the water over him, and he was all, ooh, jumping around there, you know. And I realized this is actually what we are doing every morning on the altar with Abhishek. You know, but unfortunately we often don't have that vision. We see it just as some ritual, you know, ringing the bell, you know, chanting Brahma Samhita or something. Of course that all reverence has to be there, but we don't have the eyes to see that we are actually bathing Krishna there, you know. But that's what we will be doing in the spiritual world. We will not do the Abhishek as a ritualistic ceremony there, but it will be a fully loving exchange, simply pouring water over the Lord and giving him a bath, you know. Yeah.
I think, you know, okay, so most important that Krishna is personally the holy name. Thank Krishna is the deity. He's the Bhagavatam also. And Prabhupada was explaining in the end of his life, he mentioned in one of the last papers before he left the body, how he saw ISKCON also as a manifestation of Krishna, and how that's his child, that's the child Krishna, whom he wants to protect from the demons who want to kill this child. And so
yes.
So you know, like in this sense, all the services is like direct.
Well, of course, ultimately you can say everything is, you know, Krishna's energy and Krishna's manifest everywhere, Krishna's in every atom, and so on, you know, but still there is a difference.
No, but this is not philosophically like that. This is like he said, because we are chanting Hare Krishna, this is the manifestation of Krishna, and I'm concerned about this. Just like Devaki was concerned about John Krishna in the chain also council.
Yeah.
So that's a little different from appreciating Krishna in the atom.
But I dare say to actually really have that vision is a very high level. You know, we find it hard, our level or my level is, you know, that I don't even realize how Krishna is there in the holy name. And that's the first connection.
Yeah.
So the other things are pretty high up, and I think we have to be careful not to artificially jump, and then we are missing out on establishing the foundations, you know.
No, what I meant is to appreciate that any service like that is very directly.
Yes.
Because Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, you go out and fight and you say.
Yes. We can see it like this when the personal connection is established, but otherwise we will not. Otherwise we might be more worried about externals and my position and influence or whatever, you know. But once the relationship is established, then yes, then we will see things and we will be able to perform any service in that mood of personally doing it for Krishna. But for that, the relationship, at least a little bit, has to be established. Yeah.
But isn't that also a helpful, how to say, course course of activity to accept the order of the spiritual master, and by doing that service in that to
Definitely.
develop your
Yes, definitely.
Because some devotees they were pujaris and they become attracted to the deity, and some were Sankirtan devotees and they become attracted to Prabhupada's instruction in that, and equally they can grow strongly attracted.
Ultimately, it's all a question of consciousness. You know, that whatever we do, we should be doing in that mood of wanting to please Krishna and his devotees.
And it's not so esoteric, it's very practical. You know you wash the pots because your authority told you, and they are in the line, and therefore you can hold on to it personally. And thinking of Krishna as a person comes through the service rather than the other way around.
Yeah, but nevertheless, if it is simply done mechanically or out of duty, or otherwise I won't get lunch prashadam if I don't want to wash the pots, it will not have the same purifying effect in the heart. Then when you do it really with that desire, let me do it as best as I can, I want to please. You know, that's the point. It's a very deep and subtle thing in the heart. No way around it. You can't bypass that, you know.
This of the inattentive chanting the cause of all of offenses.
Yes.
So we are not this body, but we have a body, and we have to have balance in mind and body to do service and to have a good quality of chanting. So sometimes, as you told, not here, it's everywhere. Devotees just doing so many service, lack of sleep, lack of take care of body and mind, you know. So they're just so exhausted that I saw with my eyes and many fantastic devotees that they do many fantastic, but during chanting they're just missing one word, that word, and they're just sleeping, and you know.
Yes, it will be short term. Yeah. It will not be sustainable. It will be in the mode of passion.
Yeah. So sometimes we do it in the name of service, we just lose the main, because that's the inattentive chanting is just cause of all of.
Yes, and that's where devotee care comes in. That's why every devotee should have a mentor. That's why every devotee should have a mentor who has no other interest except helping that person in his spiritual progress. No financial interest, even no managerial interest, no emotional interest, no other interest except your spiritual development. And because often we cannot see, we cannot find the right balance. And in the name of wanting to do the right thing and serving and surrendering, we cut corners and we just don't get that purifying effect.
What do you mean without emotional attachment?
No, without emotional interest.
Like?
A mentor.
A mentor I know, but without, could you clarify?
Yes.
Taking advantage in some way?
Yes. For example, you know, we all have emotional needs. And if they're not healthily satisfied within our family relationships, that's what family relationships are meant for, to fulfill the emotional needs. If they're not fulfilled in those relationships, then very easily young devotees who we are giving care, they actually become the source of our emotional fulfillment. And my emotional needs very easily clash with the spiritual need of the young devotee.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
It happens quite a lot.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I mean, I am only touching on this topic now because, you know, it is very much related with death and preparing for death, but it's a whole other seminar, you know, how to actually develop a personal relationship with Krishna. So all I'm doing here is simply touching on this because it is very important in that preparation, that it is a personal relationship, and it starts with hearing and then chanting the holy name and serving the deities. These are the main aspects to actually really develop a personal relationship. And it doesn't happen automatically, simply by time. That's kind of all I want to go into at this point, you know. I don't want to go further in this. You know? So now, that was what we started yesterday, and we simply recaptured a few things there. So now the main topic I want to touch on, again, we don't have the time to do more than touching on this last session, is how actually old age gives the most suitable conditions to prepare for death. Especially that phase of old age. But you can say old age starts when? What would you suggest? When does old age start? The period of our old age?
65.
Ooh! Ooh!
50.
Yes, I would also say 50. And I mean, coincidentally, that's the time when it is kind of suggested to move into a vanaprast mood. Also, you know. Yeah, I would also say around 50, plus minus whatever, you know. But 50, well, you know, that's half a century. I think an intelligent person will at the latest at 50 will start thinking, yes, well, soon I'm going to have to leave, you know. Of course, in one sense, a devotee should even be thinking much earlier about it, actually, you know, because a devotee has knowledge and a devotee realizes how important that point is, and that ultimately it can come at any time, and so often it comes before 50, and at the latest at 50, this is the phase where one should be prepared. So now, it is just so interesting, for me anyway, to see how really Krishna arranged the effects of time and the effects of the modes of nature in a perfect way, that, you know, that the human being is actually constantly pushed to remember that soon time is running out. You know, it's so perfectly all arranged there, you know. And of course it starts with the externals. I was touching on that a little bit yesterday, how the body, old age is just hitting, and the wrinkles and grey hair and teeth fall out and the pains, and you need spare parts, replacements, you know, new hip joint or new knee joint and all this kind of thing. It's like really the old car, you know. So that's one aspect there. And then also, you know, we all know the tongue being the most ferocious sense, always demanding satisfaction. Actually, Yadubha Prabhu was yesterday telling a sweet little story with Prabhupada at Prasadam time, that he was with Prabhupada and a servant came in, maybe it was even his wife or Malati it was, and she asked, "Oh Prabhupada, would you like to have some puffed rice and peanuts tonight?" And Prabhupada said, "Yes, puffed rice and peanuts." And then Malati left the room, and Prabhupada, in an almost apologetic way, he turned to Yadubha Prabhu and said, "The tongue always demands," or "there's no end to the tongue demanding," or something. You know? So of course, we can understand it in that sense that Prabhupada was simply instructing. I'm sure Prabhupada was beyond the demands of the tongue, you know. He simply instructed Yadubha Prabhu and us, all of us who hear the story here. But so that's the thing, and that's what we also chant in Sarya Vidyajalajal in the Taika, you know, that the tongue is the most ferocious sense. tongue always wants to talk nonsense and always wants to taste something. And it is so difficult to control the tongue. I'm sure we all have experience of that. How difficult it is to really be disciplined in eating, and how often we overeat and we eat things we shouldn't be eating, and so on. So now, just coincidentally, Krishna arranged the material body like this, that once you're over 50, it is more difficult to digest, and you get a more immediate reaction whenever you want to enjoy the tongue. Yes, I remember 20 years ago I was thinking, God, people can't digest, what is this? I can eat anything. Yes, and I could eat anything 20 years ago, I really could. But now, my God, as soon as I eat the wrong thing, or a little bit too much of something, immediately I get a reaction, immediately. Yes. So, and this is nothing else, but simply Krishna helping us and pushing us to give up these, desires for enjoying the tongue, to make us more detached of sense enjoyment. That's all it is. All it is. We get immediate reactions. Or we put on weight in our old age because the body simply doesn't burn up all that nourishment anymore, because the body is not fit to run around all day. So immediately, you either put on weight or you get sick and you can't digest. And this is really just Krishna's perfect arrangement to help us to develop detachment. And interestingly enough, when we read in the Bhagavatam, when Yudhisthira Maharaj went into the renounced order, they are the main two things he accepted for renunciation. That was his external dress. He gave up all the fancy dress and simply dressed in bark and so on. And he really made his eating so simple. He only took liquids. Just giving up the pleasures of the tongue. And old age is simply forcing us, more or less. Of course, even there we are very expert in ignoring that. And, by trying by hook or by crook, still looking attractive and all that, and decorating when we're still 75 or whatever, and makeup and all that. Or simply, nevertheless, feasting, continue to feast and just ignore it. But then the bill comes, And at the latest, at the moment of death, when we have to give up the body to, So it's interesting, and that's what I was trying to indicate a little bit in our first Bhagavatam class there, when it was about Vanaprastha, that I just heard it. It was ticking okay, but no, that's where you adjusted. Okay, thank you. Yeah, but I was a little bit trying to indicate that actually Vanaprastha is such a most natural phase in life, because death is coming closer and the body simply is pushing us to move on to a more renounced situation and preparing for death. Most natural. But somehow or other we haven't so much managed to establish that Vanaprastha ashram in mood in ISKCON, for some reason. Then another interesting thing also in regards to old age is really that simply the body becoming older is not fit anymore, not only not fit for sense enjoyment, it actually, the body becomes less and less fit for sense enjoyment, the old body, the older we get. Isn't it? You agree with that? Yes? Yes. It becomes less and less suitable for enjoying the senses, So not only that, but also on the subtle platform, it becomes less and less suitable for external big achievements. You know, running around, being so active, doing this, doing that. You know. Yes, because you know the energy is getting less, and the pains and the back and this and that, and you can't run around anymore and be the big achiever. You know, this is also perfectly Krishna's arrangement. We have to become more internal, and that's what the midlife crisis is all about. You know, for non-devotees, that materialists. They get a whole depression when they can't be the hero anymore with achievements, you know. And then the young people take over and they are the heroes. And I feel not needed and wanted and pushed aside. And so what now? You know. And it's a classic thing when people retire and they don't work anymore. They fall into a hole. There's nothing for them to do, no purpose of life anymore, because there's nothing internally developed to fall back on, you know. And then when people get some health crisis, they get completely depressed, because then again there's nothing for them internally to fall back on, and the source of satisfaction was for them their big achievements, and that they cannot do anymore, so then there's no source of satisfaction. And that's the midlife crisis, basically, you know. Yes. So old age and plus disease. Disease also is always meant for internal development. It is always Krishna's trick to simply stop us from running and stopping us from being the achiever. Satyananda Swami gives this nice formula, which this was also one of my realizations when I had cancer, because I was also completely in the achiever mood, you know, traveling fast, 3 days each place. So many places I'm going. The more places I'm going, the more successful is my preaching. You know, these are the traps as a traveling preacher, you know. And then boom, my whole schedule was stopped for a whole year, you know. So that gives a lot of realizations, you know, and this is why Krishna sends us the health crisis, that the body stops us. So stop. Go internal. Your relationship with Krishna. Your satisfaction has to come from chanting and remembering Krishna, not from, you know, being up there on the stage or something, you know. Yes, sooner or later. At the latest, at the moment of death. So the health crisis is always meant to help us to go more internal. And of course, health problems become more and more frequent and severe in old age. So again, Krishna just so perfectly arranged it all, you know, to bring us to the point of leaving our body in detachment, going back to God. And then not only that, but as we are facing death more factually, the whole thing becomes more, you know, even more deep, you know. And I had that realization when my father left, you know. He was saying to me, you know, a week before he left, he said, you know, one thing I'm really afraid of is that I will come to the point where I can't do the basic things in regards of taking care of my body anymore, where I can't go to the toilet, where I can't wash myself, you know. And I said to him, yes, this will come. This will come. You will see now your body will gradually fall apart. But you as a soul, actually you have nothing to do with this. You are not connected with this. So it gives you an understanding that you are not this body. And then he said, but I think I know this already, that I'm not this body. And I said, yeah, well, you might think you know, but now you will experience it. Yes. And he was just so grateful for all this guidance I gave him, and he really so humbly accepted it all, you know. So I tried to make him peaceful. Don't worry, we are here, we're going to take care of you. You know, and then he said, yeah, but it's embarrassing if I can't go to the toilet anymore and I will need you there. And then I said to him, well, it's only embarrassing as long as you identify with the body. Then it is embarrassing. But if you actually understand, this is just my vehicle here, then you will not bother. It will not even bother you at all. And he, okay. He was thinking about it. Yeah, and then really, surely, it really comes to that, you know. The body just gives up here, gives up there, you can't do this anymore, you can't do that anymore. And that's really, and that purifies the last traces of wanting to be the controller. I'm sure you have that realization in your caring for old people, you know. And it's tough for people, it's tough to accept that, oh, now I can't do this anymore, oh, now I can't do that anymore, you know. And then it goes so far that the most personal things, you know, of going to the toilet and cleaning yourself, you won't be able to do anymore, and then somebody else has to help you. And that is simply meant to get us more off the bodily platform, you know. It's a real internal thing. Oh, okay, well, I have to allow somebody else to do this now, you know. But the deeper meaning is to make us understand we are not this body. Because really, that's how it works. It's only embarrassing as long as we identify with the body, you know. But if we are off the bodily platform, it will not be embarrassing, you know. So, and to give up this last, you know, propensity of wanting to be the controller. Very, very purifying, you know. Oh, if you can't hold your urine and stool anymore and all these things, you know, you have to give up control. Yes, Krishna is forcing us, material energy is forcing us. And all we can do is just helplessly take shelter of Krishna and his devotees, you know. Yeah, so it's a whole process there of purification, you know. And I have also observed this whenever devotees leave, that actually this last stage is just so purifying that devotees really become very beautiful when they're about to leave. I've observed it on several occasions. Also with my father, he actually became very beautiful, very attractive, very humble, so grateful. Yeah, so grateful. It teaches gratitude, you know, and humility. And then actually the beauty of the soul comes out, even though externally the person is in a suffering condition. But just the beauty of the soul, if a person takes it as an opportunity to become humble and grateful, you know, and devotees do. Non-devotees sometimes become more crazy and angry and, you know, and they freak out. But devotees usually do that, you know, by Krishna's mercy and the mercy of the devotees, they see that this is an opportunity to become humble and grateful. And then really the beauty of the soul comes out. You know, I've observed it several times and I thought, wow, this person has become so beautiful in these last few days, facing death, you know. So it's a real deep, purifying thing there, this last phase, you know, very special and most important and special phase of life. You know, where we have to do anything to help the devotees, and because after all, what's the use of all our preaching and training and cultivating and you know, people, and then in this last phase we don't know how to give that support and that guidance and you know, that last, to make the last test really help the devotees to pass it really with glory and with full marks. The highest mark, so to speak. Yeah, so it's a very, you know, it's such a deep topic and so many deep insights there. If we really see them on a deeper level there, and not just external, or the person is getting old, dying, sick, or why does that happen to devotees? And so we have to learn to see things deeper and see how Krishna is simply helping us to prepare and pulling things away one after the other and just helping us to let go and really dissolve the subtle body. That's all it is. Yeah. That's all it is. Are there any comments or thoughts on this?
Excuse me if you find this question rude, but you were speaking about your own period of this dealing with this disease and feeling it, Krishna pushing you more and more to give up and being ready. Did it feel a little bit disappointing when you didn't die, when you were so prepared?
No, it didn't. No, not disappointing. But that's the thing, see, disappointing, that's the point. Disappointing it would feel if you again attached to your plane of, yes, let me leave now, or oh, this is so sweet and nice there to have Krishna a little bit more tangibly, and oh, now how disappointing, you know. So disappointing is again only there when we have our plans. You know, then we are disappointed. But I really tried to let go of my plans, you know. And sometimes it was popping up again a little bit, like first when I had the surgery, I had no idea that I would have to do chemo as well, you know. and I was thinking, okay, you know, then after the surgery was done, before the surgery, I managed to put myself in Krishna's hands, and that's why I felt so peaceful and sheltered and had no anxiety, really. It was quite amazing. But then after the surgery, I thought, okay, well, looks like this is not so serious. I am surviving here. Okay, so maybe I can go preaching and collecting in Norway again and this and that. And then, oh, so no chemo as well. Oh, okay. And that took me again a little while to accept that and really, do I have to do this and maybe not, and this and that and this and that. So, you know, there's all these phases up and down and, you know, like that. But my hope simply is that once you manage to hand yourself over in Krishna's hands, then the next time it will be easier even, or at least just as easy, you know, like that. And I mean, as I said, in my regards, I'm really hoping that I'm not gonna get all worried which treatment now to do and this and that and this and that. But if the signs are there, so now it's really time to leave, then I just want to leave, and I don't want to end up in treatments and hospitals and healers and all this, you know. I'm pretty determined on this, you know. And ultimately this was also definitely Prabhupada's mood, you know. He always said, don't bring me in any hospitals. And he was simply weighing up Is there some chance to still do some preaching, to use this vehicle for preaching or not? And when it was clear it was not fit anymore, okay, let's give it up, you know. And interestingly enough, I mean, if we really see things from that transcendental viewpoint, it just shows how really unnecessary a lot of our medical establishments and treatments are, you know. That because of this thing, that people don't have that transcendental vision and knowledge that the soul is simply giving up old and useless clothes and moving on. That's by hook or by crook we are trying to maintain and preserve the old and useless clothes, you know, and so much effort and resources and energy is spent for this. Enormous, you know. Of course, it doesn't mean we go to the other extreme and neglect the body and just not do any treatments or anything. But this whole, you know, the whole thing there, and I mean, it goes a little off the topic, but some of you might have seen Lost Village, that film of Lokanath Maharaj and Bhakti Vaibhava Maharaj, you know. There's also part of Almik in it too. And what really, you know, hit me there when I watched it is where at some point some elderly Vaishnavas there from that village are telling that actually in previous days there was no need for hospitals. We simply had a lot of physical work we were doing in the fields, grinding the grains, doing this, doing that. And we were eating healthy food, what was harvested straight from the field. And that kept us healthy. And there was no need for hospitals. And every village simply had some village doctor there who knew the herbs. And that was it. And it's not that people, you know, didn't get old. I mean, we know from the Shastra people who were living in previous ages much longer. So when I heard that, I started realizing, wow, all our clinics and rehabilitation and this and that and this and that, it's actually all just a result of completely unnatural way of life. The human being is not meant to live the way we live today, just sitting on the desk and not moving and all this, you know, and eating all these ridiculous things, and which are just produced for you know, out of greed to make profit. You know, and this whole medical corpus there which we have created is actually nothing but a result of unnatural life. And it definitely also is in regards of old age. And I just quickly want to share this one thing, which even I presented on the GBC level. Because in the GBC meetings, in regards to devotee care, every single meeting, somebody brings up this topic. What about old age homes for devotees? Every single meeting. And for some years I've just been not thinking about it and simply lamenting, God, why don't we think more about the spiritual care? Why don't we just, why is this topic, seems to be the most important topic, the old age homes for devotees? But then I thought, this is coming up every year. We have to find some answer to this. And then somehow I started analyzing, because this topic of spiritual culture is so dear to me, I started realizing this whole concept of old age homes is a manifestation of materialistic culture. Because in materialistic culture, old people are disturbing. Because in materialistic culture, the goal of life is sense enjoyment. And as we were saying, the old body is not fit for sense enjoyment. So old people are a disturbance. Push them aside, get them out of the way, hide them in the forest in an old age home, so that we can enjoy. That's where old age homes come from. It's a manifestation of materialistic society. But in spiritual culture, where self-realization is the goal, old people are extremely important members of society, and they're given special care and respect. They're the center. They symbolize self-realization and wisdom and life experience. And they're meant to share that with the young generation. The young generation is supposed to offer service and inquire in humility. And the old people are meant to share and affectionately reach out to the young people and pass on their wisdom. That's the loving exchange between the young generation and the old generation in spiritual culture. You know? So in spiritual culture there is no room actually for old age homes. In Bangladesh, nobody would dare to put their parents in some old age home. No.
But there, Devaki, completely practical. Many of the devotees joined and they gave up their families, and they've been brahmacharis and they don't have a family.
Yes.
Maybe they are not the traveling preachers, but they're ordinary devotees.
So let me finish. I haven't finished yet. So the point is, we have to see our yakshas as extended families. And our old people, we have to take care of them in our yakshas, rather than putting them in some old age home. See, the point is, even my parents, now my father has left, but my mother is still there, she's 82, she's almost blind, but she's refusing this idea of going to an old age home. She's refusing. Because anybody who knows old age homes, they know how horrible they are. You're just sitting there with people, you know, who can't think straight anymore and who are senile, and the whole place smells like urine and stool, and there's just some impersonal staff serving out the meals, rush, rush, rush. You know, who wants to be in an old age home? Hello. Yes. Yes. So in all the more, you know, even in the secular society, people realize now how horrible old age homes are, and they're introducing all kinds of supportive services: the meals on wheels, the home care nurses, this, that. My mother in Germany, they have even in the schools now this service that the teenagers, once a week for 2 hours, they go to old people's homes in their houses and offer service. Because they recognize the importance of young people offering service and respect to old people. Even they realize. Yes. Yes, so my mother has every week a teenager coming to her house and doing anything, unconditional service. So you go in the garden, you do the dishes, you do this, you do that. And she teaches them something. She passes on something, because my mother is pretty far out, you know. She has a very wide horizon. She's quite an amazing woman, you know. Yes, and she says, God, these young people, I'm shocked. You know, they can't do this, they don't know that, you know, and I'm trying to give them something. So there's that loving exchange there, that the young people are meant to offer service and the old people are sharing their wisdom. Yeah, and this is how we should take care of our elderly Vaishnavas. We have to be personal, we have to offer service to them, and we have to establish supportive systems for our elderly holy devotees in our communities. And the young devotees, we have to inspire them to offer service to them, because they are benefiting from what the old generation was doing. You know, they're coming here, they're born in beautiful Armvik, you know, but that is the beautiful Armvik is the result of so much tapasya of our old generation devotees. Isn't it? Yes. Yes. So that's the point. So why copying the system of the materialistic system of old age homes? Until after so many years we also realized these old age homes are horrible. Can you imagine a morning program in an old age home? You know, and then the class all being about the diseases and the falling out teeth or something. You know, I mean, how depressing. You know, wouldn't you want to be like an extended family with all the devotees in the community where you have served? And rather be taking care of those devotees? And this should be our approach. And as soon as, you know, at the latest, once we are hitting 50, we should be thinking, in which community do I want to leave my body? And the loving exchange is to serve the devotees, so we become dear to the devotees and they become indebted to us. And then they will take care of us, hopefully. But not being packed away in some old age home. So I gave a whole presentation on this, and yeah, some Maharajas really liked it, Giriraj Maharaj, Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, but it's not, you know, it's not really established. I'm working on it. I have to put it on a few times and, you know, really drive this point home. Okay, let there be some old age homes for those who really want that, but let's also create the spiritual cultural model, the model of within spiritual culture, how to take care of our old devotees. You know, by establishing supportive systems, meals on wheels, you know, some caring structure there, and the young people should be encouraged to serve the old devotees and take care of them. That's a much more wonderful way of, you know, going through one's old age than just sitting in some old age home and being cared for by paid staff who are just working from 9 to 5 and, you know, just, you know, want to run off and go home and, you know, the whole thing, you know. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. But it's a whole change of view we need, you know. Yes, we have to understand the spiritual culture more deeply, you know. Yeah.
Again, we have Dhritarashtra left home because he didn't want to be like an old dog dependent there, and there's also the recommendation to go to the holy place. So if we had established places where there were room for the devotees in the holy dham, with devotees caring for them, and this would also kind of fit within our...
But this is also a holy dham. Panchatattva are right there. So many sadhus come, there's Krishna Katha, Krishna says, I'm not in Vaikuntha, I'm there where my pure devotees are chanting my glories. This is not different from the holy dham. But, I mean, of course this is a big topic and I simply wanted to throw it in the room and make everybody think of it. You know, we don't have to come to some conclusions here or some resolutions. Okay, let's have you know, this or that for the Armvik devotees or something. I simply want to throw it on the table because it's part of, it fits into the topic of death, you know, and it concerns more and more of us. But if we think about it more deeply, if we have personal relationships in the yatra where we have served for so many years, what would we choose? To be cared for in the yatra where we have served for so many years, or being in an old age home in Vrindavan where we don't know anybody and we are taken care of by paid staff? What would we choose? Well, if you have relationships there, but I also know devotees who went to Mayapur and then they realized, actually, unless I have relationships here, it can be damn lonely in Mayapur. Believe it or not, loneliness is a topic in Mayapur. It is. We have the MCS, the Mayapur Sevak Committee there, you know, the Mayapur Service Committee, and they have put somebody on that investigation, going around door to door in Mayapur and talking to devotees. How do you feel here in the community? What's lacking in the community? This, that, and the loneliness was a big answer. I feel lonely in Mayapur. Yes, because without personal relationships we are lonely anywhere. Doesn't matter where we go.
Yeah, which maybe it's like they have established Bhakti Vedanta hospital in Mumbai, and they have devotee doctors, and they have a spiritual focus, and they have programs. So something that you don't really have to be sick, but just the last time, you know, if you go to Mayapur, you just sit there, but if you have a system established where devotees serve in that capacity, and that can serve, of course, as an example for local things, but...
Anyway, alright, some can go to Mayapur, but some might just want to stay amongst the devotees where they have served for 30 years, you know.
There is actually one hospice in Hindara.
Yeah, I know.
It's just started for the last year or so.
Yeah, I know. It's a part of Bhakti Vedanta Hospital, right? Yeah, my surgeon who did my cancer surgery was very much involved in establishing it. I know about it. I know.
They accept volunteers.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
go there and help to serve the devotees.
Let's listen to the subject. It's just again and again pointing to this very important subject that our relationship with Krishna. If we have a relationship with Krishna, so we see and respect every particular part of Krishna as a devotee thinks as a part of Krishna. So how is what is the reason that after 30, 40 between community there is not any relationship and we just prefer to put all the people devotee to the somewhere else? As you mentioned, I didn't know. I became amazed that to feel lonely in holy town. Okay, with a whole service. So it's personal relationship is so important. It's so important.
Well, the root cause is inattentive chanting. I think you can't go to deeper roots than that.
Because if you love somebody, if I love my person, this or that devotee, you love this person. You cannot. You want his or her association, even if just see.
Yes.
You
yes.
love to do service.
Yes.
So if there is
yes.
not okay. Keep
yes. And I strongly feel this is the direction we have to preach in regards to caring for old people. To actually learn to value and respect our old devotees and take care of them in a very personal way. It's a whole cultivation, you know, rather than thinking where we can create old age homes. Because we will not be satisfied with this. I mean, as I'm saying already, the secular society realizes that these old age homes are not the all in all. You know, and they even from kindergarten, they bring whole groups of children to the old age homes, and they have programs there because they realize the importance of that exchange between a child and an old person. Because for a child and an old person, there's so much awe and reverence there. I had a great-grandmother when I was a child. A great-grandmother. Wow. Oh, you know, there was so much awe and reverence there as a little child. If you're 5 and she is 92, you know, it's amazing. You know, and that's a really important exchange in spiritual culture.
I think that into disadvantage for ISKCON that they had these 3 generations with grannies their children and the grandchildren, because it brings, as you say, a stability, a maturity, and also for the grandchildren to have a grandfather. I think the problems with so many things, we don't know, but with that maturity, stability, and mutual respect. I think Prabhupada fulfilled that part very much with his seniority and his experience in life and all. So that's why we need all devotees in the temples also.
Yes, and we have to be willing to serve them and take care of them, because one day also we will be old too, and we hope that somebody also will be there and chanting for us, and So that's the thing, care is really based on this loving exchange of serving each other. If we actually, are a member of a community in that mood of really serving the devotees will feel adapted to us, and we will become dear to the devotees, and then care should be the most natural thing. So it's all based on this exchange of really becoming truly servant of each other.
Bhakti Maharaj said the younger should serve with love and devotion, and the older should shower love and affection.
Yes, and that's the way how they serve, by uplifting and and sharing and giving knowledge and guidance and affection. That's their way of serving.
I just wanted to say that I had some experience of this in my community, where I got the wonderful service of giving assistance to one of our oldest congregational members. So, and I followed her for some time. So in the beginning I was just actually helping her in the temple, but then it expanded into picking her up and calling her, before the Sunday feast, and seeing to her health, and and when she was too sick to come to the temple, I always gave her prasadam and so on, and on her terms. So, and I just wanted to share that was very valuable for me, because I could follow the process very closely. So in the beginning I didn't have such a close relationship to this lady, but then the relationship was growing, and with that also my respect for death and the process. And also I was getting very inspired at times when she was longing a whole week just to come to the temple, and she had to struggle for a whole week just to get out of bed. It was very giving, and of course she was happy that I was there and personally taking some interest. And then we were a group also. It wasn't only me. It was a whole group, Senior Mataji, there was Senior Prabhupada disciple who was, planning if she would leave the body and how to, deal with relatives and everything. So I think it is possible, what you're saying, but
it should be most natural. It should be most natural. But as times are going, it requires a bit of organization and structure, And actually every yatra, especially once, people are becoming older in a yatra should also think about this. There should be somebody who takes this up as a mission a little bit to develop some care for the elders and so on, and create some structure there, how to take care and so on,
I can also say that Chitalika, who was here this morning, she was in Vrindavan hospice for 2 months making voluntary service.
Okay.
And she's sort of a nurse, and she went on a special education in Sweden for preparing people who are dying.
Yes.
So she's very good at this. So maybe in the future she will do something like that.
Yes, would be good.
Now she's not here right now.
It's a very sweet and rewarding service actually. It really is, and as you are sharing, it gives so much realizations, and that's the thing. In such a way that young people, they become easier familiar also with the whole process of dying, you know? But in materialistic society, the children are completely hidden from this whole thing. Sometimes I even hear when somebody dies and then people say, oh, the children should not go to the funeral, would be too disturbing for them. You know, yeah, sometimes people talk like that, or non-devotees also, you know, they feel the children should not be confronted with death and so on, you know, but that creates this whole idea that we think we live forever and death is not existing because it's always so nicely covered up and hidden and, you know. Yeah, actually, just to finish off, I want to share one amazing thing I once witnessed when I was in Nepal, in Kathmandu. There is the Bagmati River. It's a holy river, and there's the burning ghats, you know, where all the dead bodies are burned. And I was there with my mother. I took my mother there once because I visit there regularly for preaching, so she came along and I showed her the river. And then there was some blanket there, you know, and something was obviously behind that blanket, and I asked one of the devotees, what's behind that blanket there? And then he said, well, there's one old man lying there with his family members surrounding him, and he's simply waiting for the moment that he's dying, and then he will be pushed over to the burning ghat, and he will be burned there, you know. And there was already all the fires going there, you know, it smelled horrible, some bodies were burning there, it really smelled like some barbecue there, you know. So I didn't believe this, I didn't believe it. And I thought, I have to look behind this blanket if this is true, you know. And I peeked there behind, you know, I asked the devotees, is it alright, can I have a look? He said, yeah, just go, you know. So indeed, yes, there was an old man lying there, you know, and his relatives were around him. And they were, you know, chanting, reading, talking to him, whatever. Yeah, so that's how it goes on in other cultures, you know. Death is pretty blunt, you know, and bare and visible to everyone. And he was simply lying there, waiting to give up his old and useless clothes, and then, well, just a few meters, there was already the wooden pile there. Yes. But, you know, in spiritual culture, death, for us, it's such a shocking thing, you know. But in spiritual culture, death is just so much part of life. And people just have more knowledge. You know, they understand. It's simply giving up the old and useless clothes. And they just, you know, deal very differently to them. And for them it's nothing. Oh my God, oh God. You know, nothing at all.
But for the man who was lying there waiting and seeing these flames, you know.
Well, he has seen it all his life with other people there. And for him it is normal. You know, he has already seen that as a child.
It must be very fearful for him.
It's like, that's the point. It's only fearful if we're in ignorance. If we have, you know, that's the point. Religion is the wealth of those who are facing death. You know, so in parts like Nepal, people do practice religion. They have invested all their life into that wealth.
And we hear about death, but we, as you mentioned, we don't see the reality of death. And when we see somebody dying, it gives us some renunciation, some feeling, some reflection. Ah, okay, So, and if you see it again and again and again, it helps us to progress in the spiritual
Yes,
life.
and I mean, don't misunderstand the story. It's not that everybody has to live like this, or this, you know, you can't die at home or something. And it's not that people have no cars or no, you know, no possibilities to bring this body to the burning gut after he leaves. It's not like that. No, of course not. Nepal, you know, people have pretty nice houses and all that, you know. It's not like that. No. But they simply have a completely different attitude. They deal in a different way with death. They grow up with it. And, you know, they understand what's going on there, you know. And they see it from small age on. Every day, when you go on this burning gut, there's bodies burning there. Every single day. You grow up with that. But at least, one thing, but at least they have their family members around them. They're not in some impersonal nursing home there or an intensive care or something, you know? You know? Yeah. They have the relationships. Mm.
I want to ask about such cases when devotees like drown in the Ganga or Yamuna. Something interesting for one brahmacharya occurred. He drowned in the pool. How we could commend this and nice from our
Well, Krishna has his hands there, obviously, and it's not a cheap thing to live like this. You can't plan it, you know. So, yes, Krishna gives us what is just perfectly matching to us to live, you know.
Was a Sankhya devotee from, I think, Russia, living last year.
In the Yamuna, with a snake bite.
Snake bite. And it was a from Shastra where, but if you live like that, it's for sure.
Yes, yes.
Definitely sure.
Yes.
Krishna
Yes. Yes, so Krishna. See, for Krishna, from the transcendental platform, this is just like a little game. You know? We all take it so seriously. Oh, snake bite, oh my God. And because we are attached to the body. But for Krishna, okay, let it go like this. Yes, this will be nice and interesting for him to go in the Yamuna with a snake bite. This will really shake up the other devotees and think a little bit. You know, okay, this one can live in a car accident or Sankirtan, and this one can, you know, die overeating on samosas or whatever, you know. So, you know, for Krishna, this is just a little game there, you know. He's just playing a joke. But because we are so attached to the body, that's why for us it's all such a big thing, you know. But that's the point. Birth and death doesn't affect the soul. It doesn't. You know, so from Krishna's point of view, he's just playing around, you know.
Because, you know, is it true that Prabhupada's granddaughter also?
Yes, yes.
She was in
A couple of years ago, yes. I don't know if it was a granddaughter or some other niece, grandniece or whatever. Yeah, she died with also some devotees from Bangladesh. They died in the same boat there. They were in the flooding time. They were trying to leave Mayapur and somehow the
Her
boat,
daughter.
yes, yeah, somehow the boat tipped over and you know, several people drowned, 4 or 5 people. Yeah, so I mean that's the thing, you know, for us it's also perplexing and terrible, but for Krishna from the absolute platform of the soul, it's just a loving exchange. Okay, 5:02. Thank you so much for your eagerness to discuss discuss and churn the whole topic, and I simply hope that it brought you a little closer to that topic and maybe took a tiny, tiny little bit the fear and the negativity away, and maybe it will inspire you to, work on this more and really transform your whole attitude towards death and make it into a positive thing, which we want to get ready for and which we will be one day happily embracing and seeing that Krishna simply, we're stepping on the head of death like Guru-Maharaj and go back to God. That's my humble hope. Okay, thank you very much.